Hi, I'm Randy Wooden, and welcome to another in our Edge Library series, this time dealing with the question, why do you want to work here? And this applies whether you're a recent college grad, transitioning from, let's say, military, mid-career, baby boomer. Doesn't matter. The answer really doesn't matter in terms of your age and where you are in your career. And from my experience, there are three levels or three ways to go about handling this question. Now, for the most part, when they say, why would you like to work here? It means, why would you like to work for our company? And so most people would logically look back on any research they had done about the company that might talk about its growth, might talk about maybe awards that it's won or something that it's known for, perhaps a good reputation, maybe that sort of thing. And that's sort of almost like trying to grab air, because especially in larger companies, yes, there's always a public persona, and there can also be sort of a behind the scenes by people who work there that'll tell a different story. And so some of this is BS when you really get down to it. The core element here is that it's a job you not only can do, but it's a job you want to do. No company, no job, nobody's perfect. So you've got to kind of dress this pig up a little bit and make it sound like it's something that you really want to do. And hopefully it truly is. So let's look at three ways to go about handling this question about why do you want to work here. On the first level, you could talk about the industry as a whole. Let's use healthcare, for example. Healthcare is an industry that will undergo some change due to governmental oversight and some of the new laws that look like they'll be taking effect. And we don't know how all that's going to shake out necessarily, but we do know that healthcare will be here in some way, shape, or form for the future. So it's a stable, at least in terms of not being outsourced out of the country, it's a stable industry. It'll change, but at least it's going to stay here domestically. So you could talk about your desire to work within healthcare for the reasons I just talked about, or perhaps that your education points you in that direction. So again, the first level is the overall industry. A second level is the company itself. And again, you can do your online research. Hopefully you've done some informational interviewing, you've done some networking, perhaps even with people inside the organization. So maybe you've got a little bit deeper perspective on things than simply having looked them up online. So you could talk the company. That's your second level. But here's a level that sometimes people really don't think to talk about, and that's the job content itself. I mean, let's face it. If, let's say I am, and I could pick any title, let's say I'm a designer, let's say I'm an engineer, a design engineer. I could perform that function in any number of companies, perhaps even across industry lines, as long as the job is a job that I can do, I want to do, the pay is reasonable, the location is reasonable, there's a reasonable amount of stability in the company, all of those things. I don't really care where I work when you really get down to it. So you could talk about the job content and how it's a good match with your education, with your prior training, with your experience. Ideally, you'd like to be able to tie in all three of them. Tie in the industry, the specific company, and the job content. And let's face it, sometimes, and not always, but sometimes you don't get a lot of advanced warning in terms of who you'll be interviewing with. You may get a call from a recruiter, may get a call from a staffing agency, and they'll set up a phone interview, and maybe you don't have time to do a lot of research. Or in some rare cases anymore, maybe the company doesn't have a website and you really don't know much about them. The default answer is to talk about the job content and how that matches well, again, with your education, your experience, your goals, your desires, that sort of thing. So hopefully that gave you some ammo to attack this question, because it's tough to really pin it down. Why do you want to work here versus somewhere else? You do your homework and, again, go in with those three levels: industry, company, and job content. You should be okay. That's going to wrap it up for this. It's another in our Edge Library series, this time talking about that question of why do you want to work here? I'm Randy Wooden. Thanks for watching.